Have you ever noticed that the moments you label as selfish are often just the moments you finally chose to have a life of your own? Today, I'm going to talk about something that slips in quietly, almost unnoticed at first, like an invisible weight tethered to you wherever you go, and that is guilt. Not the passing kind of guilt that comes from forgetting a birthday card or not sending a text message. I'm talking about the heavy, constricting guilt that shows up the moment you try to honour yourself. The guilt that rises in your chest when you say no, when you set a boundary, when you choose what is healthy and right for you for a change, even if it disappoints, inconveniences, or maybe even confuses somebody else. And suddenly your mind begins its familiar cross-examination. Was I too harsh? That's not very nice. Should I have just kept that yes to make sure that other person stayed comfortable? Or are you thinking, I'm being difficult and this is so selfish? For so many people, that guilt, it feels like evidence. It feels like proof that we've done something morally wrong, as if the feeling itself is a smoking gun. But very, very often, guilt is not evidence of wrongdoing. It's evidence of conditioning. And that distinction really, really matters, because this is where so many of us get trapped. We mistake a feeling for a fact. So before we unpack that any further, let me properly welcome you in. If we've not met before, I'm Heidi Lester, and I've spent the last 25 years sitting as a counsellor and psychotherapist, helping people navigate the messy, beautiful, complicated business of being human. And this is We Are All Fine, our podcast, a space where we get honest about the things that most of us, I know, carry quietly. The people-pleasing, the burnout, the resentment, the overthinking, and that relentless voice that insists we should always be doing more. My goal each week, it's simple. It's just to take the psychology behind why we feel the way we do and translate it into practical tools you can actually use every day. So whether you're listening on the school run, during your commute, or even having a quiet cuppa in your hand, I am really, really glad you're here. So let's talk about why guilt can feel so unbearingly heavy. It's a miserable, destructive old feeling, and we're going to start putting down some of it right now.
This is We Are All Fine with Heidi Lester, counsellor and psychotherapist with over 25 years of experience. Join us as we unpack emotions, relationships, and mental health strategies to help you show up as your best self.
Most of us were never taught how to say no and still feel like a good person afterwards. Instead, many of us learn, often from parents, people around us, something more explicitly and silently, that being good meant being manageable, being agreeable, being accommodating, being the one who doesn't rock the boat, being the one who absorbs discomfort so nobody else has to, the soft place that everybody else can land. And when that message gets repeated enough as you grow up, it becomes internal. It becomes your internal law. But now as adults, when you act outside of that role, when you decline, you disagree, you disappoint, or you protect your own energy, your nervous system, it reacts. And it reacts as though something dangerous is happening to you. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you are doing something unfamiliar. And unfamiliarity, say that again, often registers in the body, in this body here, as threat. And that's why guilt doesn't just stay in your thoughts. It drops down, downloads, and you feel it. Shoulders tight, chest fluttering. Your body is begging you to restore the old pattern because the new one, it feels scary, and the old one is predictable, even if it costs you emotionally, because I know guilt does. So if you've spent years responding to guilt by abandoning yourself, that's what we do. It makes perfect sense that ignoring it now will feel nearly impossible. But I want to offer you a different assignment today. Stop trying to eliminate the guilt. Instead, begin changing your relationship to it. So, what if guilt is not a warning that you are bad, but a sign that you are stretching beyond an old survival habit? Now, what if that discomfort is simply the sound of outdated programming, protesting because you are no longer obeying it? This is one of the most powerful truths I can offer you as a psychotherapist. You do not need to feel comfortable in order to make a healthy decision, because you are allowed to feel the guilt and still hold the boundary. You're allowed to feel shaky, but still choose yourself. And you're allowed to feel discomfort of disappointing somebody without making that discomfort your emergency. At first, it's going to feel like you're breaking some sacred rule that you deeply, deeply lived by and recognized. But slowly, your system begins to learn something new. Nothing catastrophic happens when you say no. Rewind that again. Nothing catastrophic happens when you say no. That is a powerful sentence. Real connection, it does not disappear simply because you were honest. And your worth will not evaporate away the moment you stop over functioning for everybody else in your world. You can be your own person and still be loved, still be safe, still be okay. That's important for you to know. If this is work that you're in the middle of doing right now, go gently. You do not need to overturn your entire life in a single afternoon. Just gently begin noticing. Notice where your guilt appears and notice how quickly you can interpret it as you doing something wrong, that awful data that drops in. And then, in very, very small ways, just begin choosing what feels true for you anyway, even if it comes with a little bit of discomfort, because it will. Every time you do that, you will loosen one link in that invisible guilt chain. And eventually, what once felt like that anchor we spoke about at the top of the show becomes the very ground you stand on. I've watched this many, many times, people changing their relationship with guilt when they first look at the definition, first realize it's actually not guilt they should be feeling. They're not bad people. You're just tuning in to old memory muscle that held a story, a narrative, a rule, and you've lived by it. What I'm suggesting today is it's time to change the rule. And by observing where it comes, how it turns up, what brought it there, gives you the distance and the space for you to make a better choice and lose the guilt. If today's episode touched something tender, please don't carry that by yourself. You can email me at HeidiWeAreAllFine@gmail.com, and I genuinely want to hear from you, your stories, your questions, your experiences. And have you got another way of dealing with guilt? Because it isn't guilt, you're not a bad person. Come and find me at Therapy Applied across the social media channels, where I share daily reflections, practical tools, and a little behind the scenes from the therapy room. And if there's a topic you'd love me to cover in a future podcast episode of We Are All Fine, send me an email. Again, it's HeidiWeAreAllFine@gmail.com. Thank you for all the messages I've received this week and for all the comments on social media. I've really enjoyed listening to how these conversations are landing for you. And actually, the fact that they're helping means more to me than you'll know. So join me next week for we're going to talk about when family feels draining. We're going to explore why certain relationships in your family will leave you feeling depleted, and how you can stay connected without disappearing inside of them and remaining on the outside looking in, protecting yourself. I'm Heidi Lester. Be yourself. You are no one else. Until next week, Monday at 6 p.m. Have a great week and lose the guilt. This podcast is intended for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for therapy, diagnosis, or medical advice. Listening does not create a therapeutic relationship, so please always consult a qualified mental health professional with any concerns or individual support.